I'm aware of my age in that I get tired more easily. I used to paint 10 hours a day. I used to fill a gallery with paintings this size, 10 paintings a year. I don't do that anymore. I don't have that energy. But it's what I do. I always have ideas, and so they come pretty naturally. I think being creative in any way we can nourishes us. I think anyone who's involved in something they make is nourished by that. I'm Alice Dalton Brown. I'm a painter, and I painted the works that are in this room. I'm very happy to be here. I love this country. When I started, I made pictures since a very young age. And as I developed my work as an adult, I tried many different styles. I was experimenting. Abstract Expressionism was a very powerful movement when I was in high school and in college. And it was actually, abstract work was the only respected work. And I tried, and I found I was not a good abstract painter. I didn't have any original ideas. And I looked at the world around me, and what I got a personal reaction from was always something in the real world. I think my work has always had a fundamental abstraction in the sense of composition and in what I find interesting. And I think that's from the beginning, a sense of the abstract. But realist work, I always found, had more interesting shapes for me and also more ideas. And my impulse was a reaction to something I was seeing. So that's what I made. One of the things I did early, I was attracted to the landscape. I lived in dairy country. That's where cows were raised and the barns that they were sheltered in. I loved the idea of shelter. And I was, as a young mother especially, was interested in the idea of shelter and utilitarian shape. And the shapes were like sculptures. But one of the things I decided early was to choose a single theme for imagery. And in that theme, I experimented with different styles. So I decided to keep one variable the same. So even a few of my early experiments in style are here in this exhibition. I think slowly what evolved is what came naturally to me. It wasn't an intellectual decision. First of all, I did look at a lot of other realists and was very, very excited and influenced by other realist painters. American that I can think of quickly are Charles Sheeler, a precisionist painter, George Alt, and Edward Hopper, because he involved buildings and he included people, which I wasn't interested in doing. I wanted the viewer to be the person, but his compositions are powerful in realism. But I think finally, my own personal response to something I see has always been my choice. So I didn't take what other people were looking at because I listened to my own reactions. That's how I chose. So that made it mine, only mine. It's been quite remarkable to see my early work, in a sense, respected by hanging it on a wall, because it's like it hasn't been shown before. This is totally new to have this early work shown. So to me, that's very touching. The other work has been exhibited, has a much more public presence. So it's not as astonishing as seeing my early work actually on view. I think if you look at the early work, I am the viewer outside looking at the building. And I gradually came to realize, just like the shelters for cows, the barns, that the home is a reflection of oneself. Home, house is a metaphor for the self. And my earlier works all were looking from outside toward the house. And what was going on inside was simply to be imagined. I started painting porches because I saw this house, and saw how the light was captured underneath, and I was very taken with that. So I started looking for porches that captured work, and this is another good example. But I'm outside looking at this house. So I was inside my friend's home and saw this actual room. The curtain was blowing, making those shadows. That's a very real picture. And suddenly I was inside looking out. So that was a big shift in my thinking. My poor friend, I decided I wanted to make this picture, and that was the beginning of looking out. It was also, I think, the beginning of this motion, this curtain, and the kind of dynamics that it provided. So I like that too. I don't speculate about what other people are going to think or do. It's not what my way of living is about. I think some people will respond to my work because it means something to me personally. So I think I'm a human being like others, and this means something to me, so probably it will mean something to other people. It's like a communication, but you just never know what somebody else is going to think. Impossible. It is important, but it's not something I have any control over. It's very important, but I know from years showing my work, I have a gallery represented me in New York City, and for every year or 2 years, for over 30 years, I had an exhibition. And I would be there in the gallery with my paintings, and people would come. They wouldn't know I was the artist. I'm just standing around. And I heard such a range of comments. It was just extraordinary. Some people hate it. Some people think it's ridiculous. Some people fall in love with it. Big range. Can't tell. I've used photographs now for about, at least 30 years. And certainly, I combine images. So I try to invent something that is a meaningful image to me from different photographs that I've taken. So first I make something, essentially a collage. When Photoshop came out, all my friends who knew how I work said, oh, you have to do it in Photoshop. Well, first of all, technology, hopeless. But I had a wonderful assistant who was very good with Photoshop, and with his assistance, I composed photoshopped images to use. Total disaster. I couldn't work that way because what happens is that the image evolves as I'm making it. So it's not set in stone. So I printed a lot of pictures. I cut them out the old-fashioned way, and because they're all different sizes and directions and shapes, they didn't really fit together, but this image is this tall, this image is this tall, but I assembled them in a way that sort of was what I was looking for. And then I put it together. I almost always make a small study in a pastel or a small oil paint, and sometimes 2 or 3. In this show, for example, that painting is third, this is second, and then in one of the cases is the first one. It's about this big. Captured my eye with this image is I saw on the water not only the way the light came, the pink light on top of the water, but also this curve in the waves. So I said, okay, that was my start. Big curve in the waves, and then I invented the shape that would speak to this water. So in a sense, that's it. In this room, this one, they're all the same image, essentially the same image. And I experimented with tilting the floor and what water would go with which floor. So I started flattening the floor. This one has a very strong angle in the floor. That one has a lower angle. This is the lowest of all. I eliminated a curtain, but that's a series. Each one tells me what to do for the next one. I'm aware of my age in that I get tired more easily. I used to paint 10 hours a day. I used to fill a gallery with paintings this size, 10 paintings a year. I don't do that anymore. I don't have that energy. But it's what I do. I always have ideas, and so they come pretty naturally. First, I'd like to say I really appreciate that Koreans relate to the paintings that I do and the pastels, that they relate to my imagery. That's a big comfort. I do think some cultures really don't respond well to this imagery. So it touches me very much and pleases me that Koreans appreciate my imagery and respond to it. That means a lot. Otherwise, I'm very happy to be here. I think being creative in any way we can nourishes us. I think anyone who's involved in something they make is nourished by that. 감사합니다. To all Koreans and to you, 감사합니다.